Hey everybody, hope you're having a great day. Just give me a second, just changing this around. All right, wonderful. Can you all hear me? And you should shortly be able to see me as well. There we go. Oh, there we go. All right, wonderful. Hope everybody's doing good. I wanted to invite as many that relevant, at least right now, to this training. Well, I don't know if this is going to be a training. We'll see what it ends up becoming. But I wanted to just give you a little bit of the background because this workshop has been so effective, and you know, not necessarily intentionally. And I'll give a little bit of a story in a minute. And of course, we're also live on Facebook. We're also live here in Zoom. I see we've got about 45 people in Zoom and about 20 people over on Facebook. So I will keep both chats going. And so today, I'll give you a bit of background, kind of how this came to inception. And then, you know, I'm going to go through, going to screen share this and really just going to give you what I've seen thus far. Keep in mind, it's still quote unquote in launch. But if you've been in it, then I definitely want to give you kind of a view of what's worked, what doesn't work. You know, I saw this back in 2016. I did a challenge. It was one of my very first challenges, and it was a launch for Leadcraft, and it was actually my very first launch that did, I think it was like $320,000. And then I went and did it again that fall, and it did over $1 million. Now I had partners involved, and I had all these different types of things. So it was a lot more expensive to do. But what I'm going to go through today is what I've seen worked. I've implemented this a couple of times with some clients of mine. I saw the success of it. And then another one of my friends did it, and he did really well. And so I was a little bit inspired at the end of April. And so at the end of April, I said, you know what, I don't know what I'm really, my intention originally was to launch the ROI Method course. And so there's a lot of people that are in my world that don't have that course yet. I mean, I think there's about 1,500 people or so that have bought that course in total since its inception last August. And I wanted to get more people into that. And so that's how I started. And then, you know, it kind of changed throughout the launch when I decided, you know, hey, this may not actually be the best thing for me to promote. And it might actually not be that as relevant. And so, you know, that's how we came to this point where I am right now. And it's right now, May the 28th. And I've got either 7 or 14, I'm not sure yet, either 7 to 14 days left of the launch. One thing that you should know about me, if you don't already know, and I know a lot of you here know, you know, I do my business in a very intuitive way, which means that I don't plan that much. You know, I believe that when you're growing, especially the first time, having a plan and a strategy is important. And then it's kind of like learn all the rules and then break them all. And I think that that's, you know, really important inside of business. And so that's what we're going to go through today. Now, as we're going through, feel free, instead of me doing Q&A at the end, I'm going to do Q&A as we're going along here. And I'm just going to put the Zoom link into Facebook if you're on Facebook, because it's going to be easier for me to answer questions over there because it's in real time versus on Facebook. There's about a 10-15 second delay. And you know, I'm trying to make this as little as awkward as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen and we'll get into this. All right, share screen. And so what I decided to do, I decided to get some things, you know, up here that I thought were valuable so that we can go through. And, you know, I'm just going to kind of share my screen and show you what worked, show you what didn't work, show you the stats, show you how this worked. And so the inception of this was I wanted to get 600 people, which I thought was actually a pretty high goal for me, if I'm being honest. I wanted to get about 600 people. And, you know, I wanted about $250,000 in back-end sales. That's kind of like how I started the launch structure. So I'm just getting Facebook up here just in case we have some questions over there. And I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest, because the only challenges I've ever done were challenges that were free. And I think that a free challenge is really, really, really important. And I've done them and I have made a lot of money on them, made millions of dollars on them, but I want to do something that was paid. So I decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to do something that's $95. I'm going to do it for that's paid. As you see right now, it's $147. I kind of just put it on evergreen and been getting 5 to 10 sales a day ever since. And so, you know, what I said is, I don't want to make this a challenge. I want to make this a workshop. And I started thinking about the mentality of a challenge versus a workshop. And then I started thinking about the challenge, and I'm just going to, you know, free all the different things that have been going on in my mind. And then afterwards, I'll get a transcript and a notes kind of section that might be helpful, especially for if you're here, or you're in the ROI mentorship, or you're in my accelerator or work between one-on-one. I'll get you kind of the notes, because I know a lot of you are going to want to implement this. And so I was like, okay, well, do I do a challenge or do I do a workshop? And so I was like, you know what, if I do a challenge, I think the positioning is going to be difficult to do a challenge for $95. And further than that, I think most entrepreneurs that at least I am influential to, they want a little bit of a different, you know, experience. And I think a workshop is more of not 10, 15 minutes a day. It's more intensive. And so going into this, I said, you know what, can I create an experience that someone would have thought they should pay $1,000 for $95? And that was as I was going through, I was like, that's what I want somebody to feel. And so if I can always get somebody to feel like they got 10x ROI from just the content, not even implementing it, if I can just get them that feeling, then the chances of being able to sell them anything else in the future and being able to help them further in the future is going to be that much, you know, easier. Okay. So overall, I wanted 600 purchases. I wanted $250,000 in back-end sales. So this would have generated me about 60,000, and then, you know, $250,000 back in sales. And I'll talk about what ended up actually happening in a little bit. So the timeline was, if we're looking at a calendar, and this is the month of May. So I decided I was going to do it around here in the early April. I started developing the assets and these different types of things. I posted on a Facebook group here on the 6th or 7th. Okay. And so then I started the advertising, the actual ads on the 8th. I started emails and all that type of stuff. And I went 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. And then 14th, 15th, I switched from talking about it. So in that time I was talking, it's open. Here's what's going to happen. Here's how it's going to happen. Here's all these things. And then 15th, 16th, 17th, I did the last closure. And then I got, you know, majority of, as you're going to see in a minute, majority of the sales actually came from the 17th, 18th, 19th, which I'll show you in a minute. And so what I did was, what I wanted to do day 0 on the 18th, which was kind of the introductory class. And then I did 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd. So day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. Then I did a Q&A day on the 24th. And on the 23rd, I opened the application. All right. So now keep in mind, up until right here, I was going to sell the ROI method course. Took a walk with my wife on the 21st. I said, this doesn't feel in alignment anymore. What should I do? And then I created the application process that I'm going to share with you in a few minutes. Okay. So that's that. Now, let me just go back here. So that's what that looked like. And then in terms of the next steps, if we go into June here for a minute, so we're at the 28th right now. And so I'm either going to close things off. I'm taking this weekend here off and doing a little thing with Libby. So I'm either going to close things off on the 5th, or I'm going to close things off right here on the 12th. I'm not sure. I'm going to feel into it and see what happens. And that, you know, that's what I like during launches. If you think that there's a lot more in there, then I'd keep on going. So far, and I didn't put this on the document yet, but so far I've had 161 applications out of the 600. And so I'll just go through here, and I forgot to put this here, 161 applications. So we'll put this here. So on that workshop page, and I'll go through it in a minute and kind of break down what I would change. We had 7,800 visits. We had 1,012 people push the actual checkout button. Okay, so this is the checkout button was this page right here, which I'm also going to go through and share with what I would change here as well in a minute. So 611 purchases would generate it without, you know, fees. $58,045, so a 7.8% conversion rate from the number of visits, okay? And these are unique visits. There was, I think it was 10,500 visits in total, okay? So people coming back multiple times, of course. So there was a breakdown between here and here, very clear breakdown between the checkout and the purchase, which happens, but you know, there's ways that we can, you know, get this kind of working better. One of the ways would have been having a chat on checkout page, right? We did not do that. Should have done that. I think that would have generated, you know, more sales. Further than that, there was no testimonials on this page. This page kind of like, I put this together in last minute, and this page needs some serious love and attention. I didn't include billing information over here. That was better. I split tested at the beginning. Billing information made the number of people actually come in a lot lower. I also, a lot of the time, I don't know why, but a lot of people don't like entering their phone number. So a lot of the time I just don't get their phone number. Okay. So when I'm looking at this page again, basically it's going to be just a rows of rows and rows and rows of testimonials. Okay. So you know, new order page. So then what happened was, and I really messed this up. I did really, really well. I mean, 611 purchases, super happy with that. Super, super duper happy with that. 343 order bumps, which honestly, I did not expect to happen at all. So this was this order bump right here, which is the 7-day cash campaign. That did really well, right? Very happy with that. Very, very, very happy with that type of conversion. Then on the next page, it did 3 different upsells, all which didn't really do that well, if I'm being honest. So the first upsell, so there was a couple things. One was a technology issue where the upsell pages didn't really look that good. And I didn't really sell it that well. And it was really, if I had my time back, I probably would have, you know, not did these than versus doing these. And for the new version, I'm going to change what I sell. So the problem was they just paid $95. And then on the next page is like, hey, do you want the Q&A access after each day? Now, the problem was I didn't really explain what they were going to get. And so almost no one bought it, right? 611 people, 21 bought it. I ended up refunding all of these people. And so because I was just like, you know what, this doesn't make any sense. I'd rather give the Q&A to 611 people. And if I'm doing it in the future, I'm just going to include the Q&A. All right. That wasn't a good upsell. I didn't like that upsell. It didn't feel aligned. It didn't feel good. Now the next upsell was my omnipresence in 7 days. I mean, revenue wise, it was okay. You know, almost made $7 grand. Still only 34 people. And this one was a $297 upsell. That didn't do well. If I'm going to do it again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do $95 to something that's nice. So I'm going to keep, next time around, I'm going to keep the order bump. This worked. But I'm going to either do upsells that are lower cost. So something that's 40 to 150. And I'm really going to make them good sales pages. And I'm really going to make it so that they know that, hey, this is a great opportunity. It's typically this or it's typically that or whatever it might be. Okay. So in my opinion, I probably should have just did no upsells. I mean, yes, this is an extra 13 grand. Yes, it attributed to the $90,000 I made up front. But if I had my time back, I would have done it a little bit differently. And so this created the order bump, obviously, you know, increased the revenue the most. But in total, this would have been, you know, $145.77 per customer. Okay, so my average value of customer was $104. $145 per customer. Okay, which was great. That was wonderful. I think I can make it a lot higher in the future, and I think it comes down to me thinking about this more from what the experience of someone that's buying it. So that is definitely a place for help right there. Okay. Now, just going back to the sales page, some things I'm going to change right from the get-go. So first off, my next version of this is going to be called Scott Oldford's Online Marketing and Sales Workshop. Super simple. I'm taking out the entire ROI method aspect. And the reason I'm taking out the aspect of the ROI method is that it assumes that somebody already knows what the ROI method is. And I lost a massive number of people on this page because they didn't know what the ROI method is. So I'm going to take out everything of the ROI method. I'm going to keep majority of this. And what I'm going to do, I'm taking out all testimonials that have anything to do with results. And I'm putting all testimonials from the actual event itself, which of course at the beginning I didn't have that opportunity. Okay, so this was good. You know, when I looked at the screen software to see what people actually look like, besides this problem down here, I don't know what happened there. This was actually looked at pretty well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to include screenshots of the people that were in it in each section. All right, to kind of like go through each section. All right. Also, I'm going to take out the daily shift. The reason I'm going to take out the daily shift is that it seemed like it was overwhelming to people. And I'm going to sell the Facebook group more, which is going to now be possible because of the screenshots. Again, I couldn't do this when I sold it the first time. I didn't know if I was only going to sell this to 60 people. I had no idea what was going to happen, okay? And then from there, all of these testimonials, instead of them being people that I've actually worked with, it's just going to simply be more about the actual event itself. And I'm going to take this part out down here. It doesn't really matter. And so I'm going to make it about, if you want to use effective online marketing and sales, this is what you need. And then on day 0, which we'll talk about in a second, then I introduce them to the ROI method, which I think is going to make a lot more sense. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody so far? Just want to check in if there are any questions so far on any of that stuff. Just wanted to check in with you guys. Now, this was what was probably the most interesting thing ever. So this was sales volume based on day. All right. So as you can see here, now I'm not going to share the Google Doc because there's some things in the Google Doc that I'm probably going to put in that I don't want continual access to. So if we're looking at sales volume, this was what was in. This was probably the most interesting thing I've seen. Now I know that most sales happen at the end of a launch, but look at this. Up until basically the end of the launch, I was at 288 sales. And between May 16th and May 19th, it doubled, right? It doubled. And so this is why, this is, you know, one of the really interesting parts of a launch is that if I was judging it here, if I launched and I was like, oh, you know, and keep in mind, you know, my goal was 600. So after 3 days, typically when you launch, you have a big spike at the beginning. And so this is why I always tell people, you've got to talk about it over and over and over and over and over and over and over. You got to get to a point where you're sick about it, right? Because right here, I was sick about talking about it. I had to push through. I really had to push through in order to be able to get through here, right? And so what happened was, you know, this was going into a weekend. And so on this day, I even had people, you know, already join. So in total, we had 606, and then at the end, over the next couple of days, there were a couple stragglers, which is where the 611 or 5 stragglers, which is where the 611 came from in total. All right. So almost all of this happened in the last 3 days. This is so important, because if I judged my Facebook ads up until this point, if I judge my marketing promotion up to this point, if I, you know, right here, if I didn't have that emotional stability and emotional kind of having done this over and over and over again and helping so many people do different launches, I would have been like, oh, like, you know, this is kind of, you know, that 288 was great, but it was so far away from my goal that if I was getting that mindset, I really wouldn't have been in that kind of like a good mind frame from that perspective. So it's really important to go through and just, as much as you can, not track the numbers, but not allow it to change what you're actually going to do. Because I went through on my strategy, I went all out, and you know, it obviously worked incredibly well. Okay. Now we already talked about the upsell structure here already. The upsell structure was there. I'm just going to push this up a little bit because it doesn't make sense to be right there. And so this is this so far, right? This is the sales so far. Did you do something specific that you attribute to doubling the sales, or you just kept talking about it? You know, honestly, it was so, and I'll get to this in a second when we get down to ads versus regular. Just keep talking about it. I just kept talking about it, kept doing the Instagram stories, kept on doing the emails, kept on doing the ads, retargeting ads, those different types of things. But it was a mindset of, I'm going to try to get as many people in this because I know it's going to be really good and I want them to be in it. Okay. So here is a promotion structure. So May 17th, 14th, So hold on. I'm sure I'll just take out what I wasn't going to put in there so you guys can go in. Here you go. So, and yes, absolutely. The motivator here was the fact that you're not going to be able to get in, you know, in this version again at this price, that type of thing. So promotion structure was like this. May 17th, May 14th, it was open to everyone. Okay. So I was targeting my entire warm audience. I was targeting my entire email list. I was targeting my Facebook group, my Instagram, absolutely everything. Then on May 14th, I shut off everything besides those people that opened the emails, that clicked onto the website, and essentially just it went to purely retargeting, technically to the 18th, right? And so, and then I also see something here. Dustin, I remember he also started promoting how many people had joined. Yes, that is one thing I will say that's actually a good point. I did start around here promoting about how many people were actually in it. And there was definitely a level of FOMO, and that definitely worked really, 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 really well. Okay. So this also worked really well. And so what we did was I also created a retargeting Omnipress. So there's essentially two. So think about it this way, there's two retargeting campaigns. So when someone clicked, you know, the sales page, right? So they clicked here, right? So what happened was there was campaign one that was all sale ads, right? These were conversion sale ads. And then campaign two, which was omnipresence ads, which had my story, which had value, authority, and it also had, I think, about 10 videos. Okay. So when they were going through the newsfeed over the next couple of days, so if they clicked on the 8th, they were getting these sale ads, these omnipresence ads, and they were getting this up until the 14th. Okay. So up until the 14th, that's what was happening. And then after, and I'm going to show you some of the Facebook ads in a minute, after the 14th, it was pure retargeting. Okay. So the only people we were targeting were the people that visited the sales page, just the active list from my email list, right? And I think maybe a couple of other sale pages that I've had over the last 6 months. Okay. So very, 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 very small audience and group of people. Now, in terms of Facebook versus organic. So as you see, I had 317 people purchased from Facebook at a cost of $75.83 each. So right from the get-go, I was doubling my money. Now, here was the issue. The issue was I couldn't scale it. Okay, I couldn't scale it. And so my warm audience, what you got to realize is that a lot of this came from the retargeting ads from the back end. So we were driving traffic from the 7th to the 14th, but a lot of these sales, especially at a $75 purchase rate, came from the last 3-4 days. Okay. So there was 294 sales that were attributed from Facebook group, Facebook page, Instagram, or email, 317 that came from paid advertising. Okay. Now, next piece, which is, we did not target, and this was a miscommunication. We only targeted United States, Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand. And we typically do that when we do lead generation, but I have an audience all over Europe, all over the place, right? South America and that type of thing. I think if I were to do this again, I'm going to make it so it's everybody. When I do lead generation, I typically keep it to, less than 10 countries. When I do sales, I don't exclude many countries. Okay. I go to everybody that might come across me. Okay. So that's one of the issues. In terms of the timeline, anytime you're doing a launch, you only have a limited amount of time to be able to deliver the ads in a limited amount of time. So unlike Evergreen, which you can increase the timeline, we had no real ability to optimize. We just really kind of put as many ads as we possibly could, and then saw which ones worked and what didn't work and what got delivered. The next part was we had some issues at the beginning, the first 3 or 4 days, in terms of deliverability. And we also had some issues on the retargeting that we got fixed from a Facebook perspective. And so what we had to do in order to get Facebook to show and this is new. I haven't come across this issue myself before, but even though we had thousands of visits that were retargetable on the page, at the auction, at the Facebook auction for retargeting, people were like, we just could not get it out there. And so eventually we outbid everybody. And so I just said, hey, listen, I'm willing to pay ridiculous amount of money. And then that worked. And it started showing the ads to the people over and over and over and over again. And then obviously it worked, really, really well. Desktop got the most actual purchases, but mobile and desktop worked really well. Instagram stories did not work. Audience view didn't work. All those different types of platforms did not work at all. And then finally, US and UK were 3 times cheaper for a sale than Australia or Canada. Australia and Canada were over $200 per purchase. All right, so it was cheaper to get someone to buy in United States or the United Kingdom based on that. Okay, and so now's no better time to go and take a look at this. And oh boy, do we have notifications and stuff everywhere. All right, so here's some ads for you, so you can take a look at this that have done well. All right, and then I'm going to share with you some ones that didn't do so well. Okay, so this one did well. 5-day ROI method live workshop enrollment now open. Ads like this typically do pretty well. Picture for your environment, that type of thing. That made sense. These also did really, really well. Okay, this was a client testimonial where I talked about what they were actually doing. All right, and so at first, hold on. How do I just turn off? How do I just turn off Messenger? Because this is chat tabs off. Okay. All right. So this was our best ad. Now there was multiple versions of it, which is why this one doesn't have any social engagement. But this is by far one of the best ads that we had. This was another really, really good ad that did well. It was just me out walking. Also did really well. This one did better on retargeting than to cold, or not to cold, but to a broader audience. Again, this is another one. We're just running into different audiences at the end of the day. That was another one that did really well. This one did really well. I put together a workshop for online business that costs at least 10x what I'm charging. Just a picture of myself. Now we're getting into the closing ones. And these are the ones that typically you're not going to get a whole lot of social engagement. And I actually think Akeem's on this call. So there you go, brother. You got me some conversion. I think Alicia might be here too. So you both appreciate the ability to get some conversions on that. This also worked well. Okay. This was just taking the logo and putting on top of it. Again, this would not work. All right. This type of ad would not work if I went to my entire audience. This type of ad's only going to work if I'm retargeting the people that have already been to the page. All right. And again, basically what I learned is that the next time around, oh my God, keep on. Poor Trey is gonna. I don't know what he's messaging about. I haven't talked to him in years. All right, there we go. Oh my God. All right, there we go. All right. So what I learned was, from an advertising perspective, the things that worked the best were images of me directly, content of, hey, this is open, go get this. Ads that were kind of about something, like ads that were about content, did not work. So if I talked about marketing and then talked about the workshop, the cost per conversion was through the roof. If I talked about hamster wheel or someone's core problem, it actually also didn't do that well. The ones that did the best were me, and I didn't even write that many of them. And this is why you kept on seeing Alicia and Hakeem, was that I just didn't write that many of them. So next time I'm going to base it on directly, here's what it is, here's what it's going to help you with. And I think because it's a $95 thing and someone can buy it right there and then, I think appealing to, oh, that person has that I want, and me just doing a bunch of different testimonials. This person at 20,000 a month, this person at 50,000 a month, this person at 100,000 a month, this person at 200,000 a month, and actually explaining the story versus, because what was interesting, and we did run it, I don't think it's here, we did run it where we did a video of Alicia versus the picture, and the picture did better. And so a lot of the time videos don't get as good coverage on Facebook as images do in terms of different placements. And a lot of the time, if they watch the video, they're not going to look at the text. So they might see the testimonial, but they won't understand the context of the testimonial. Okay. So that worked, that worked a little bit. This one here was just me scrolling. This did not work. This did not work at all. That got 0 conversions. We spent $900 on it. Did not work at all. Okay. So those are just some ads, some things that I picked up. I'm going to focus on for this again, testimonials, case studies. Here's what you need, those different types of things, versus, more of this type of ad, less of, kind of like trying to, long copy did not work. Shorter copy did in this case. Okay. All right. So, I had a question here. Have you had IG work for you in the past, or how do you view IG in your launch strategy going forward? I use Instagram mostly for lead generation and mostly for omnipresence. I do not find Instagram that good for being able to get sale conversions. Okay. Sale conversions do not do well off of Facebook. Any other questions before I keep going when it comes to Facebook and what worked and what didn't and that type of thing? Now keep in mind, I didn't do any type of messenger bots, nothing like that. From that perspective. I think long copy can work in lead generation. I think that for sales, it doesn't work as good. But it really always depends. The approach without ads for a launch would have been, if I look at it this way, I doubled my launch by doing paid advertising, right? And no, I don't do anything on LinkedIn. So, not that I have anything against LinkedIn. I just, I don't use LinkedIn. Who was in your first stack, warm, cold, or lookalikes? There was 0 cold in this entire launch. I never ever showed it to anybody that was cold. It stayed within about 100,000 people. So I didn't do my extended warm. I just did warm. And so it was about 100,000 people that are targetable on Facebook and that type of thing. What's your minimum spend you run on each ad? No real minimum spend. I typically turn off based on kind of like my intuition, which I know is a crappy answer. So, if I was looking at, so think about it this way, I was trying to spend $50,000, $60,000 on this campaign. I just couldn't spend it, right? I couldn't spend it because I had a deliverability problem, and it was just not getting shown the way I wanted to get shown. And so, but I also didn't want to go to cold because I didn't think this was going to be because I'm not doing this to cold, meaning when I do this in the future, I'm going to do partnership and I'm going to put a funnel in front of it. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do this to cold. How would I approach launching it? It's the same way I approached it with organic. I posted in the Facebook group 2 times a day. I put on Instagram. I put 1 post in total. I didn't even do multiple posts. And then I'll say I did a daily story. I probably did a story every other day. And then with email promotion, I did, 1 to 2 emails a day for the 10 days. And Rick, I never do advertising on LinkedIn. I haven't figured out how to do it. If I'm being honest with you. Why was lead generation only several countries and sales were everywhere? I thought it would have been the other way around. So, so sales were everywhere because a lot of my email list and my organic is everywhere. And so if I should have promoted, like anytime I'm doing lead generation, I want to keep it within 10 core countries. But of course people come across me and get referred and all those different types of things. But what happened was it was just a miscommunication with me and the person that was running the ads, which was just me not telling them. Wasn't it their fault whatsoever. So we got to that point, and then I think next time I'll be able to expand it out and be able to get a lot more sales from a lot of the different countries that I don't have a ton of audience in, but it would probably add an additional, pretty decent group of people. I probably double the audience at least. Are the omnipresence ads a testimony, value, and story you shared? Are these different ad sets within the same campaign? Yeah, they are different ad sets. Always different ad sets inside of same campaign. And the testimonials were ads that were conversion ads. If there are videos or stories or those different types of things, you know, those were reach. That was a reach campaign, right? So it would have been different. Targeting parameters on Facebook would have just been, you know, if you were looking at omnipresence, if you're here, you probably have omnipresence. So it's kind of like stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 of omnipresence would be the people I'm targeting. So it's not everyone that views my videos. It would be anybody that viewed the videos over 75%. It's anybody that's visited my website in the last 90 days. It's anybody that has interacted with me on Instagram in the last 90 days. Those different types of people were inside of that group. So it was a pretty, and you know, only in those 5 countries. So it was about 100,000 people that we were targeting, that we were able to actually reach inside of this. And I think we can do a lot better. But one of the things always, whenever you're doing a campaign that you don't have a ton of time to launch, like, you know, you're not planning for weeks and that type of thing, is you're just going to find things where you're like, oh, I could have done that. I could have done that. Could I get this number, the number of purchases, up to 1,000? I think I can get up there next time, for sure. I think next time, you know, a big part of this strategy is going to be trying to figure out how to get people to refer other people. One of the things I'm going to be doing is an affiliate campaign where you will get, if you get someone, so it's $95. If you get someone to come in, you'll get $90 and you'll get it within 7 days. So your commission, you'll get it within 7 days. And so all you have to do is get one person signed up in order for yours to be paid for, right? Of you coming in there. So that's one, you know, on a partnership strategy. And then secondarily, I'm going to do lead generation. What I decided to do is my SSF method strategy around messaging is probably one of the most effective ways for someone to understand marketing. And it's a lot simpler than the ROI, relevancy, omnipresence, intimacy framework. And so I'm going to do a lead magnet that gets people to get a cheat sheet for that and bring in a lot more people. So I'm starting that campaign next week. And so I'm going to do this again. If we're looking at the calendar, I'm doing this campaign again, July the 13th. So I'm probably going to promote it from the 20th. So this time I'm going to increase the size of the promotion window. And so I'm going to start on the 13th, but I'm going to start the promotion probably end of June and go for 2 weeks. I'm not going to promote it organically, probably as hard, but I'm probably going to rely more on people that have gone through it, that want to, you know, see it and that type of thing. Now, another thing that okay, so that's that. All right, any more questions before we keep going on any of this type of stuff? This is the next part here. All right, cool. So the next piece is when they got to this page, which they went to join the Facebook group, and, you know, this kind of call to action if they want to, you know, work with me more. This was the most useless call to action on the planet. This page did not do any good at all. Next time, I'm going to get them to join a Facebook group, and I'm going to get them to take a small feedback questionnaire so I understand who's coming in, so I can get. So I want to be able to get. So if you go to the ROI method training, like this one here, when somebody joins this one, I want to get some information like this, like what's your biggest challenge? What's your average monthly revenue? What's it? Because if I had and their text number, for sure get their text number, because most of the people, I only got the numbers of about half of the people that bought last time didn't like that, right? So if I had this information in active campaign, I would be able to haul this out and look at, okay, who are all the people that are 10K plus, right? And then I would be able to, even though I got 160 applications, I'd be able to go in and be like, all right, these people here and these people here, this group of people, I need to get messaging going to them right away, right? And I didn't do that. You know, I don't have that. I didn't have that kind of integrated. And so I would have rather done that. And then secondarily, on this thank you page, you know, on this thank you page, I probably would have got them to add in the calendar dates to their calendar versus later. Right. But that was also the fact that I didn't know what the calendar dates were at the beginning, but I would have used this real estate better. Right. What are you going to do to increase the upsell purchase quantities? You mentioned that it would be a lower price to upsell. Are you going to change the type of content to upsell? Absolutely going to change the content in the upsell. I think the omnipresence is good. It just got to be priced differently, or there's got to be, you know, I have an omnipresence training that's like 60 minutes that I think I could sell for 40. Basically, I need to keep the sales probably below 147 or even below $100. If I really want to upsell, it's going to have to be lower. I think I might also, because my book's coming out in August, I think that I might pre-sell my book on the thank you page with the audio recording. And this time it came with the digital program. I might just get the book and the audio and sell it for like 37 or something on the thank you page, right? Did you mention how many people you want in the next workshop? I don't know. I mean, I'm open to whatever makes sense, to be honest with you. Any idea how much your 2 previous campaigns, the Recession Proof and 7-8 Challenge, drove the workshop success? I'm actually not sure. All I'll say is that we added about 30,000 people to the email list with the Recession Proof promotion. And I know that there's definitely people that, you know, are in my world on that. And that's one of, you know, that's one of the things of that I'm doing, you know, going forward here, activating Facebook and YouTube advertising so that, you know, over the last year, I haven't done a ton of cold lead generation, you know, in general. I've been mostly on my warm audience, but, you know, really activating that more and more, you know, coming into the next month and spending, you know, ideally at least 50,000 to 100,000 in cold advertising that I don't need to get a return on right away. How to decide if the challenge is for free or pay? I did the first one for free. You know, I think if you're going to do a challenge, I think it needs to, at the end of the day, if I did this free, I think, and I'll get to this in a second in terms of sales and that type of thing, I think this is best, at least for me, this worked better for it to be a workshop, because I'm selling things that are $5,000 to $60,000. And so that's why, as I was getting into the workshop, I realized I shouldn't sell my course, because I was going to sell my course. And then I was like, that's a bad idea. If I was going to sell my course, I would do a challenge, right? I would do a challenge and then I would sell the $1,000 course. And I think that probably would have made a lot more sense. So, and I always retargeting emails and cookies, you know, both of them there, Hardy. All right. So that's that. That's a thank you page. That's what I would have changed there. Facebook group went incredibly well. Okay. I don't think I got it open anymore, but the Facebook group went incredibly well. What I would change, I'm going to post in there probably 3-4 times more than I did this time. And just also be adding some value in there, but even more value. And I'm going to make it so that as soon as there's 100 people in the group. So this time I waited until pretty much the Friday before. So I didn't know there was a queue. All right. So this time I opened the doors to so we started here. I opened the Facebook group on the 15th. This time, if I'm going to be running it, I'm going to open the Facebook group a lot earlier and build the momentum and get people to like just naturally refer and talk about it. Will you target people from the first challenge or for the first workshop? I think so. I'm probably going to do some type of, you know, if you want to join, you can get a discounted rate type of thing. That's what I'm thinking about doing there, right? All right, so that was a live Facebook group. Now, in terms of the learning structure and the content, now what I essentially did was I put in, so I went live each day, and then I essentially put it into Thinkific so that everyone got access to Thinkific. And so then from there, I also added, you know, different bonuses in here that were actually going to, you know, effectively help somebody. And they were from my different other programs and like that type of thing. And so what that allowed for when I did the training, I didn't have to be doing the training for like hours and hours and hours and hours. Now, the format of my training with the board, that was actually a last minute decision the morning of, funny enough. That wasn't actually even a part, I wasn't even going to do that. But then I was going to kind of do it a little bit like this, but then I decided that my teaching, I didn't even know I had these lights. I moved and I didn't know I had these lights. And then my board was out and I was like, oh, you know, I should use my board. And so then I set up the board, and then I was like, oh, this is great. I think this is going to work well. And then thankfully the lighting worked, and I had a 4K camera that I also didn't even know I had. And I set that up, and then I just went for it. And then each day, what I did for the content, I just wrote it in. This might actually be this might actually be it. Yeah. So I just wrote it in. Like I wrote it like this is day 3 intimacy. I just wrote it like this, and then wrote what questions they should have. And then I'd go over to the board and just start writing. Okay, what's the flow? How do I need to teach someone? Keep in mind, I know this stuff really well, so it's a lot easier to do that. I wouldn't probably recommend, just kind of flowing with it that much. And then what would happen is I'd go do it. I'd do the training. I'd know what other, pieces I would need to be able to put in here. And then I just kind of, go from there. And then at the end, be like, oh, you know what? Let me bring this piece of information in. Let me bring this piece of information in. And, that's essentially how it went. So, and then in terms of like what I did first, day 0, it was all about, hey, here's what they expect. Here's how it's going to work. Day 1 was relevancy. Day 2 was omnipresence. Day 3 was intimacy. Day 4 was funnels. And day 5 was implementation. And then day 5 really perfectly, integrated into, the application. And so what I did, the sales strategy. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to sell. And so, I was listening, and I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? And so on day 0, I actually posted on the Facebook group because I had all these people reaching out to me being like, hey, how do I work with you, Scott? I love your stuff. And I was like, okay, text me. And so if I go to my text right now, you guys are going to laugh at this. If I go to my text right now, keep in mind, I'm an inbox 0 person. All right. I got every single person to individually text me. And actually a lot of these are gone because I've deleted, I deleted all the people so far that it wasn't a fit for. All right. And so what I did was, instead of putting them to a sales page, I just sent them here. Right. I just sent them here, and I'll just share this page real quick. I just sent them right here. And I sent them here, and I basically said, hey, listen, I don't know what's right for you, but more than likely, I can figure it out. And so what happened is they would go into this intake form. Let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of this. And they went into this intake form, and essentially I asked them, for the critical, the first information. And then what's the number one thing that they discovered in the workshop? So I understand what context, like what's important. Because if somebody comes to the workshop and relevancy was important, I know where they are in business, right? Very, very quickly, I know what their problems are going to be. If their problem's omnipresence or ads, again, I already know that they probably had the relevancy problem fixed. What do you sell in your business? So I need to make sure that they're selling something. And I keep in mind, what I'm doing here is I'm submitting an app, like I'm texting them back or emailing them back, texting 95% of them and saying, here's what you should do. Okay. Very, very unscalable launch, but unscalable things are typically the ones that make the most money a lot of the time. Tell me about your marketing, what works and what doesn't work. What do you feel you need to do better, right? What do you feel you need to do better? So now I'm going to reflect. They're going to say, hey, here's my problem, right? Pretty much out loud, they're going to say exactly what the problem is. What programs, courses, or coaching have you invested in the past? How much have you invested in? Here's an interesting thing. Most people that ended up purchasing something that I'll talk about in a second invested at least $10,000 in themselves. Most people that bought the higher end program invested at least $50,000 in themselves. Most of that was not business coaching. It was personal development coaching. Okay. So that was the next piece, right? What are the 3 core challenges in your business? Again, getting them to self-assess where they are. What elements of ROI are most important to you implement? So I asked them, okay, what did you get the most from the workshop? And now what are you actually going to implement? So I'm trying to get them the future in some level, and I'm trying to get them to, I always talk about pain, vision, gap, trying to get them to give their own gap here. What is the most important thing in working with a mentor? So if I'm going to go back to somebody and I'm going to try to lead them to a path where it's me being able to help them, I need to know what's actually important to them. And every single person answers this question very, 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 very differently. And based on that, how I approach them and how I talk to them is going to be different. Okay. And this was probably the best question I've ever asked. And this is just, again, I put this type form together Saturday morning last week. All right. Or the week before. All right. In what capacity would you prefer to work with me in relation to allowing me to help you scale a business? I literally just allowed them to self-select what they want. They don't even know what the program is. They don't have the sales page. They don't have anything, all right? They have zero context, right? A lot of you have probably been on this page, right? And so most of you had no context, and you told me exactly what it is you want before I even have to come back to you. So when I'm coming back to you, I'm like, okay, I'm not, you know, I have clarity how to help. All right, so how many clients and customers do you have currently? Right, so if somebody says 200, it's going to be a very different answer than 5, and it's going to allow me to be like, okay, they're more experienced in business, or they've been struggling for a while, or whatever it might be. How big is your audience? Right, so that then is, well, how do I actually help them? Right, if somebody doesn't have an audience, that's a different approach than if somebody has a bigger audience. All right, now the next questions. How much is your monthly revenue? All right, if I don't know someone's monthly revenue, I have no idea how I can actually help them up to this point. Then how much is your profit? Revenue is vanity, right? Profit is our sanity. Next question. How much is your lifestyle cost? So I'm looking at, okay, someone makes $20,000 a month. They make a profit of $10,000, but their lifestyle is $9,000. I'm not going to be able to help them, because keep in mind, if I'm going to help somebody, not only do they have to invest in me, right? If I'm going to help, if they want my help, right? A lot of people I've just redirected to. I sent some people to my therapist. I sent some people to friends of mine. I told a lot of people, hey, I can't help you. You know, you're not at the right place right now, right? So how much is your lifestyle cost? Do you have a team? If so, what do they do, right? A lot of people, if they have a team, okay, I know, all right, here, this is a level of execution I can actually help them out. How many months, this is such an important question. How many months of cash do you have in the bank? Right now, keep in mind, these questions, you have to have a level of intimacy with your audience in order to be like, you know, ask these. This is not an application that you would do unless somebody is very much in the fast lane and very much trusts you. This is very personal information. How many months of cash do you have in the bank? All right, so this question is a decider of, all right, is this person, if somebody has 14 days of cash in the bank, they're going to be bleeding and in so much pain that I'm probably not going to be able to help them. But if they have 3 or 4 months in the cash in the bank, they have enough money to be able to pay me and implement what it is so I can actually help them to grow the business. Okay. What is your unfair advantages? So I'm trying to get them back out of the mindset, because that was just very stressful, right? Most people have a lot of shame and a lot of guilt about their money. So I'm trying to get them back into what's good about them. All right. So that's a pattern interrupt. That unfair advantage question is actually not really that helpful. All I'm trying to do is get the person to shift their mentality, because I need something positive so that they don't end the application and don't continue. All right. Now, when working someone, one of the most important elements to be able to afford me is why I have different levels of access. So I'm pre-framing the fact that I cost money. And then I ask, many of those right. So basically this is, how are you going to afford to invest in your business? Is it financing? Is it cash flow? Do you have savings? There's so many people that come to me. There's people that come to me all the time and they're like, hey, I'm only at 20,000 a month, but I got inherited money. I did this, I got this. I have people that are like, I really hit it a few years ago with Bitcoin. And I'm going to use that. People that would not be able to afford me one-on-one, that want to work with me one-on-one, that have money to work with me one-on-one. Okay. And so, it's not the fact that I'm not going to work with somebody at, one-on-one at 20K. I can help get someone from 20K to 100K really quickly if they have the cash flow and the money to be able to do it, right? Growth comes down to the rate of growth comes down to how much money you can use to be able to get that growth. All right. Do you have any paid taxes? I need to know what their debt situation is. If they're dying in debt, I need to know, and then also know from a mentality perspective what that looks like. What is the core reason you want to work with me? Right now, that could be anything. Right? Typical answer, I'm where they want to be and they want to learn from someone that's been able to do it before. And is there anything else that I should know? Which is essentially just allowing them to be seen and heard and put anything else that's in there. Okay, so that is the form that's had, as of this morning or the last time I checked, 160 responses. And from there, essentially all I did, I got the responses. This was as simple as, people do CRMs, all these different types of things. Here's my CRM. I won't show it to you because it's got personal information in it. I have an Excel sheet. I have someone's name, I have someone's number, and I put what I'm going to, when I look at their application, I text them. I have iMessage on my iMac, and I have text forwarding so that, it can come into my iMessage. So it is my number, like the 310 number is my number. They come in there, I can get it on my phone or I can get it on my iMac. I put it over there and I say, hey, blank, 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 took a look. Here's what I think you should do. And then essentially I just keep that message in my texts as I'm going through. And then I just have a document, like an Excel file where I have all the people, all the numbers. So because not every single text is going to have the number or what I pitched or what, what I gave as an opportunity. So if somebody texts me back, I need to be able to go in the document, be like, oh, that's Paul. All right. I gave them the accelerator link. That's where it comes from. And then from a sales perspective, what I did, I essentially had 4 different Google Docs, right? I had a Google Doc for my course, had a Google Doc for my group mentorship program. I had a document for my accelerator program and a document for my one-on-one. And then based on the application, based on their finances, based on their cash flow, based on their potential to be able to actually get help, I was able to say, oh, here's what you should do, here's what you shouldn't do, and that type of thing. And there's, of course, lots of people that I said, hey, listen, I can't help you right now. Okay, so it was specialized to each person. And the application, I started it on Saturday. So just in terms of timing, I started it on Saturday, the 23rd. From the 23rd to the 24th, 100 of the applications were submitted. And so since the 24th to now, we've had another 60 applications submitted. Okay. So majority of the, lost my train of thought. Yeah, majority of the applications happen in those first 24 hours. And I haven't really even, deep. Like I haven't promoted what programs there are. I haven't promoted any of that type of stuff. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that going forward. Whether or not, hey, would it make sense to promote one program and get everyone that program? I don't think so. So far, it's been so mixed. I've probably given the opportunity to 25 people for my course. The mass, I say 60%. 50-60% has been my, my 5K group program. There's probably been about 20 people with my accelerator, and there's been 4 people with one-on-one, 3 which have taken it. And so then there's, I'd say the rest of the percentage I just couldn't help. All right. So that's how I structured all that. And then in terms of the intake form, we already went through the intake form, so that's fine. Now, in terms of the Q&A structure, so every day when I did the actual content structure, I did the content and then I did a Q&A for 45 minutes after. That's how I did it. In terms of what I posted, so every single day as I went through the workshop, I did an email at least once a day, sometimes twice a day, making sure that I actually got to it. And then, posting structure inside of, sorry, I got an itchy leg here. The posting structure inside of the Facebook group was really just value, testimonials, motivation for them, personal story, and then overall authority. And so that's really that's the same thing I'm running right now. And so, for example, why would I do a workshop breakdown, here? Well, like before it's even done, and invite the people that are, are inside of this. I think at the end of the day, it's like having that value continually is really, 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 really important for this group of people. Now, here's a few other things I did. And I see, how can we purchase the ROI course? Hold on, I'll just get you the link real quick. If you want to buy the course, anybody can buy the course. I don't care, but there's kind of a special price if you use this link. I'll just get it for you. Here we go. Here we go. There it is, Melissa, or Melissa. I can't say it. Sorry. So then another thing that I did do, and this is obviously, going here. Oh, it's my garbage can. A couple other things that is working for sure. So at the end, I added this. I added 2 more Q&A sessions. So I'm doing one tomorrow, one next week. I'm doing a debt training that's tomorrow. I'm doing hot seat sessions. So basically anybody that submits to Boast. So what I did is I used this application called Boast, and I've gotten about 70 testimonials so far. And so it allows people, so this is going to allow me to build my new sales page. And so anybody that uses the Boast to say, hey, this is so good, I'm going to pick a few of them and actually do a hot seat coaching, which, between now and the end of the close is going to make people realize, wow, I need this guy. And then also anybody that submits it, I'm going to pick one person before June 15th, going to give that to them. Workshop breakdown, we're here right now doing that. There's a referral program that I talked about. I talked about that beforehand. Everybody that bought is also getting my audiobook. And I'm also building a new funnel for this program, and I'm giving everybody that, submits a testimonial access to that as well. All right. So anyways, that's basically how all of this works. And what worked, what didn't work. Overall, everything, worked really, really, really well. In terms of the sales, the jury's out, but I far surpassed this in the first 24 hours. I surpassed $250,000 in revenue. So I don't know what it's going to end up being, if I'm being honest. But cash collected has gone past this so far, let alone sales. So far, that's really, really good. And then the way I look at this is, let's say, I don't know what it's going to be, but let's say there's $1 million in revenue, which I think is probably going to be closer to what this launch has done. So if I'm looking at $1 million in revenue, so I'm just taking the calculator out. Then I look at, okay, how many zeros? That's 7 zeros. Yeah, 7 zeros divided by 610 people. Right. So that means that I generated, if that's true, right? If I get to there, which I think is possible, my goal is a little bit higher than that, but we'll see what. So that means $1,639 per person plus the 145 that I already got from the get-go. So that means that in total, that's $1,734, right, per person. All right. So that means that if I go to scale this and it costs $300, okay, to get a sale, I'm all good, right? I am all good. So what I'm going to do is, so my new structure is going to be traffic to lead magnets. This is going to be the upsell on sale page plus sale in email plus retargeting. And then, my idea is to do this either live every 6 to 8 weeks and people pre-buy, or evergreen this version of it. And then, evergreen, I don't know how well that's going to work in terms of getting the sale conversion on the back end. But I'm super duper happy with the numbers, super duper happy with the numbers. How many people do I have in the group of 5K? It cycles because it's a 4-month program. So it keeps going, and that type of thing. So yeah, so it just keeps going. Like, people just kind of keep coming. There's no end or start date in that program. It just keeps on going. The structure of that program is I'm doing a phone call with you to plan your 120 days. So I plan your next 4 months. I tell you exactly what to do. And basically, just look at this. See that? The board there? Yeah, right there. So basically what I do is I'm on Zoom, you're on Zoom, we're not on video. And what I do, this is it's a very awkward stance of my body there. Okay, there we go. And so that's, anyways, that's what it looks like. I'm actually doing a Q&A call right after. And so there's essentially a weekly Q&A call on top of that and some other things. So that's it, guys. No, Jade. So this is how much revenue I would generate per person, right? So if I got $1 million, if this launch does $1 million, which I think it will, then I would be generating $1,784 from, from every single person that came into this. And I generated $89,000 and only spent $24,000 of ad spend up front. So this, by far, I've done launches that will be bigger than this revenue-wise, but profit-wise, best launch I've ever done. And also, no partners, no affiliate commissions, no nothing from that perspective. So that's it, guys. That's all I got for you. And of course, if you do want to implement this stuff in your own business, want my help, you can obviously go in here and submit the form and that type of thing. So the $1 million would be between the ROI method, my mentorship, my accelerator, and one-on-one is what that would look like, Rick. And majority, obviously, of that revenue is the accelerator and the ROI mentorship program. I'm probably going to do a full promotion for the ROI method still. I just don't know what that's going to look like. But that, link that I sent you is going to be the best deal. But basically I discounted it a bit and added a couple extra things for people that are in the workshop live and that type of thing. So any other questions? How long in advance do you plan? I took 7 days. So I was like, okay, I want to do this. And I, just did it. But I work fast. And when I'm ready to do something, I do it. So, and I don't have much team, so I can just get things, going from there. There's no link to purchase the accelerator. The best thing would be you can't purchase the accelerator, just straight out. I've really got to know that you're the right person. And that doesn't mean that you just have the money. It literally means I can actually help you. Basically anything past the ROI method course, I have to make sure that I have like a 99% chance that I'm going to be able to help you, because I don't bring people into that unless I know that I can actually help you. When choosing the retargeting copy for ads after 14th, how do you determine story value or authority to write about omnipresence? So those ones are going to be purely testimonials, purely it's time to get in, it's time to do this. There's not that much story or value or authority. The majority of your authority is going to be coming from the 7th to the 14th. In my it would be more from the 7th to 14th. How do you choose it? Whatever feels right. There's not necessarily too much of a strategy on that one, if I'm being completely honest with you. I'm just seeing if there's anything else here inside of the group. Thank you, Dustin. I appreciate that. And difference between mentorship and accelerator, just the level of support with me. It's 6 months, a lot more, support and attention and that type of thing. All righty, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Any other questions? So if you have questions, so here, look, take a look at this page. Submit an application if you're interested in accelerator, whatever it is. Just fill that out. Let me know, and I'll text you and we can chat about it and that type of thing. Also keep in mind, I've done 0 phone calls in this entire launch at all. 0 phone calls. The most I've done is a 45-second voice note. So this is absolutely 0 phone calls. Do you think the strategy will work straight to cold with only a warm audience? I think they would have to be warmed up at some level in order to get the results on the back end. That part, I don't know. I'm going to know in July, because I'm going to probably bring in some partnership traffic, and I'm also going to bring in some traffic that don't know me that well. I think one of the advantages that I had here is I got a lot of people that I've been nurturing for a long time. And so a lot of them finally saw, wow, I need to get off my ass and actually just like do this. So whether or not this is repeatable at the same back end level, I think I can get better sales front end. Whether or not I can get it on the back end, I'm not sure yet. And Evergreen, I don't think I'd be able to do it the way that it's working right now. I'd probably have to make it so the application goes to a phone call, if I'm being honest. I think that's, and I don't want to do phone calls, and I don't want to outsource phone calls. So that's really it. If I'm starting out a digital agency, when should we outsource or hire staff? Really probably, when you have enough revenue. I mean, there's a lot of ways to answer that question, but when you have enough revenue and it makes sense to be able to actually outsource it. ROI course works incredibly well with the digital agency method. For my second challenge, after seeing you, I don't know if I should sell through a webinar, or did through you a customer with a Google form and have to respond. Do you lose emotional effect of a webinar? I think you do. I mean, I think the text is always going to do better. I'm probably still going to do a webinar. I might still do like a direct sell for the ROI mentorship with a webinar. Don't know. Depends. Right now I might hit my goal. Actually, not hit my goal. I might actually hit the maximum capacity of what I could sell without doing it, which is why I say I might, depending on what things look like in terms of numbers, I'm going to have to be like, hey, I can't take anybody else, or just do a wait list or something like that. Because the ROI mentorship program does take my time, and it's my birthday month in June, and I don't work as much. So there's elements here where this model breaks down after a certain amount of revenue, because it's not based on team, and that's fine. I know the limits, and you know, that's cool, you know, but it's definitely, there's a limit for sure. There's a limit. You said to do a challenge to lead to $1,000 offer. Would you suggest something like this workshop? You know, I would not this intense. I would do like a 10 to 15 or 20-minute video a day. This would be a lot of work to do free, and you would lose a lot of people if it was free. And I would do more like a 10 to 15. Yeah. If someone didn't buy this, no one would be at the end, right? Thank you. I appreciate the kiteboarding offer. I appreciate that a lot. All right, guys, listen, that is it for now. Love you all. See you soon. And yeah, hopefully this was helpful. Talk to you soon. Bye.